Today on the TMZ Podcast.
Welcome to the TMZ Podcast. Derek and Eric here. How you doing?
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. Why don't you kick us off with the story that we have?
Yeah, we've got a few updates. Still a lot unknown about what's happening at this time. The official cause of death has been released. We knew he had been hit in the head. That's what killed him. He was also struck in the torso, into his arm. So he was hit multiple times by just sort of random gunfire.
We've seen the video. There are a lot of shots that are squeezed off in a short period of time. It's unclear even if it was one gun that's firing multiple times or multiple guns. It sounds to my ear, having heard some of these videos over the years, that it sounds like multiple guns to me because
it does.
Squeezing the trigger that quickly is very
difficult. And it seems like there's a
difficult.
little bit of overlap, so it seems like there was some gunfire exchanged.
Yes.
We also know that Quavo's assistant was hit, not fatally. He was taken to the hospital. But also, there's in one
He'll
of the videos,
survive these wounds. He's recovering.
Yeah. But you do see in one of the videos a person with a gun. We don't know if that's the person who struck Takeoff.
Right.
Police just say that's a person of interest at this moment.
But you do see him in the video at some point holding the gun and then raising the gun. Not a good look. So he's definitely being looked at. Now, I lived in Texas.
But if there were
for a
multiple
few
guns
years.
firing, how does he? Maybe they say he can do ballistics tests, but even that might not prove.
And there's a lot about ballistic tests because with ballistic tests, you need a gun. And it may be hard to find these weapons. Yes, we see it on video, but after this altercation, there were no cops who arrested people and confiscated guns. These guns could be long gone. They could be at the bottom of the river.
It's been a few days at this point. So.
Yeah, and it's going to be a really difficult case to solve because there's a lot of chaos. You see this video, there's a lot of people. I lived in Houston, Texas for years. Everyone carries guns. It's very normalized.
Everybody
there.
in Texas does.
Yeah, it's not like California where it's an oddity to see someone who is not a law enforcement officer with a gun. It's very rare in California. It's very common there. So the fact that this guy had a gun and raised it doesn't mean he was the person who killed Takeoff at all. It really just means
it doesn't
he was
even
part of the
necessarily
fracas.
mean he fired. You don't
That's
see
right.
him fire in the video. You just see he has a gun, which is, like you said, not illegal there.
No, not at all. But people are just grasping. They want to understand. Takeoff was extremely important to the community. What you see in the video to me is heartbreaking because there is an altercation of sorts, but it's not a serious one. It doesn't sound like
to escalate to that.
No, it is certainly not something of the order that would be worth lives being lost. There's some sharp words back and forth, and then it seems like in the video that Quavo sort of wants to walk off and squash it. I mean, he sounds very calm relative to the confrontation.
He was not trying to get into an altercation.
And then just the shots are fired, and that moment, everything's lost. That's it. Those are permanent changes to a bunch of lives from a very, very small altercation. It's tragic to me. This is what gun violence is. We were talking about it with Charlie Cotton, who's from Australia. He's like, we don't have these kind of confrontations. Someone may pull out a knife or a boomerang. I'm not even joking. They do carry boomerangs there. But no one's going to die over it. And this is a very distinctly American problem.
And we talk about like senseless violence, and it really is in this case with Takeoff. He was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. He wasn't. From the video, it doesn't look like he's even really part of whatever the minor altercation was.
No, he's part of an entourage. You don't even hear him in it.
He's just standing there.
Yeah,
he was just in the wrong place.
And the sort of a horde of people close by each other and guns going off. It's just such a dangerous situation, right? Even if you're trying to fire a warning shot to spread people, that's even dangerous because it cascades into violence. And some people are not going to shoot into the air and they're going to point it at people. And I don't know. It's a heartbreaking situation. We will learn more as time goes on. I'm not sure we'll ever know exactly which bullet fired that took Takeoff's life, but it's just a very, very sad situation.
Very sad.
Let's move on to Elon Musk and AOC. There is a raging Twitter beef.
This is, when two trolls go after each other,
it's amazing.
It's fun to watch.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
They're both very good at Twitter. A lot of people speculated, why did Elon Musk want Twitter? It's not a very good business. Doesn't make a lot of money. He overpaid for it, even by his own admission. But he loves it. He loves this product, and now he's the owner of the thing he loves most in the world, other than I would imagine electric cars and rockets.
I think he probably likes rockets better, but
he's really into it.
And he wants to start charging verified people.
That's right. So after buying, people were wondering, what's Elon Musk going to do with Twitter? Is he going to let Donald Trump back in? How is he going to make it into a business? Because now he privately owns it. It's his problem. One thing that is sort of been lost amidst this is it's very heavily leveraged. He borrowed $13 billion from banks. Just the interest on that alone is about $1 billion a year. So he's got to come up with a way to make cash, turn Twitter into a business that can at least service the debt. One thing he floated out there was, I want to charge people $20 a month, but then he went to $8 a month for the blue verification checkmark.
Yeah, so this is not for all users.
That's right.
It's still free, just that be a normie.
That's right. It's not necessarily, you don't have to be famous to have a blue checkmark, but what the blue checkmark conveys is that your account is verified to be you. They've done some extra digging to say that's not a bot, that is a person. It is verified. A lot of celebrities use it because it's sort of a status thing, but it's really...
It is a status thing, but it is practical in some sense that if somebody starts tweeting somebody impersonating a celebrity, well, right away you know it's not if it doesn't have the check mark.
That's right.
And it's not always celebrities. It could be like community leaders. There are people in small towns who have maybe 1,000 followers who get verified because it's relevant to their job.
And people who are vulnerable to people copying them and sort of creating fake accounts to impersonate them. So the checkmark does serve a purpose. He sees it as potentially a source of revenue, and it addresses the problem that he said was at the core of why he wanted to buy Twitter, spam bots. He said Twitter is riddled with crypto scams and all this sort of spam nonsense that makes the user experience terrible. I can fix that. And one of the ways he wants to fix it is by charging. Well, it's caused a lot of controversy because it's a free service, and the checkmark is seen as a way to help Twitter's business. Why would the user have to pay for it? It's a verification mark so that the users have a good experience.
So it's funny. So, of course, AOC has her problems with Elon Musk for lots of reasons. But one, just the idea of billionaires, just she's so put off by. So she goes after him.
She initiated this. She fired the first shot.
Because part of what Elon was saying by allowing people who've been banned from Twitter back onto it, he's like, it should be free speech. Everyone should have this platform. So she laughs at, quote, a billionaire earnestly trying to sell people on the idea that free speech is actually an $8 a month subscription plan.
It's beautiful. So the shots are fired. AOC is exceptionally good at Twitter. If you follow her, she's quick-witted. She is willing to scrap with anyone, basically. People who tweet at her, and she'll get into it. She's kind of like the Elon of the left in a lot of ways, in their Twitter personas at least.
Well,
they're willing to get into the mix.
Are good at Twitter. She is one of them who's good at it.
So she makes a good quip. Look, it's a good pot shot.
Yeah, that you're going to charge for free speech.
Yeah, she wanted to poke him a little bit. Well, he took the poke, and he said, your feedback's appreciated. Now pay $8, which was his first tweet. Then they get into it.
Then he started, he pulled up from a grab from her website where she's selling a sweatshirt, an AOC sweatshirt for $58.
Mm-hmm.
So
quite expensive.
That is very expensive.
So he's saying, look, you're monetizing your brand as well.
Yeah.
The AOC is a brand at this point.
Of course
she's not
she
just
is.
a congresswoman. She is an idea and a concept, and people really celebrate her. So
and she's charging you $60 for a sweatshirt.
But she has a rejoinder.
But then she comes right back again. She goes, my workers are union, make a living wage, and have full health care. And then she says that she seems to have gotten under a certain billionaire's skin.
She is the gadfly of conservatives because she says these things and she's able to sort of pivot. Like Elon's play here is right out of a textbook. It's like, okay, you're going to call me a hypocrite because I'm into free speech, but I'm charging. I'm going to call you a hypocrite because you're a big redistribution of wealth and you're charging $60 a sweater. So they're really like meeting each other.
They both have some solid points.
They've got some solid points against each other and they know how to play the game well. And she I think she wins this battle. I mean, as good as Elon is, he's sort of got bigger fish to fry than to get too far into this. So he sort of backs away at this point. She says, just a reminder that money will never buy your way out of insecurity, folks, which is just the coup de grace. He's already standing there.
You're an insecure nerd is what she calls him at the end. Like she goes right for like the deep psychological hurts there.
And I call it, like I said, I'm no big AOC fan. I don't think her policies are good for the country. So just to be, full disclosure, but I call it like I see it. And in this Twitter battle right here, AOC won.
This is not a political thing. This is purely just two trolls. This is King Kong and Godzilla going after each other. And who wins at the end?
Now, I'll tell you what I think is she won this battle. I think Elon wins the war. What has happened to Twitter since his acquisition is Twitter's really in the news. Elon has had Twitter beefs. He's talked about the $8 subscription, which is sort of floating a test balloon of an idea. He gets all this free market data. How is this going to be received? He floats it out there in the news. AOC comments on it. The news media has said like, oh, we'll never do it. He's sort of seen how this will be received and whether it will work as a business model. I think he'll try it. Remember, this is just his toy now.
He's definitely going to try that. And
Twitter is his toy. He can do whatever he wants. He doesn't have to ask a board. He owns the whole thing. Everyone needs to understand he doesn't have any shareholders he's beholden to. He just owns it.
But he is, and this is why I think partly also AOC kind of wins this battle because it's been a bad look for Elon. Everybody knows he overpaid. He said it. Mm-hmm. And Twitter, I think it's lost a lot of users since he took over. And a lot of the people that he was going to unban and bring back haven't really come back, at least not yet. And he's going to start charging people. And then it's not, people are already starting to think if he's going to start charging this much for verification, at what point does it just become $5 a month just to be on Twitter?
Right. And then it's a pay service.
And then people will
it sort
just
of
leave in
feels
droves.
very different. It doesn't feel like the town square. You don't pay to go to the town square.
I think the vibe against Twitter is kind of bad right now.
Yeah.
It's getting a lot of press, but it's not great press. So he's got an uphill battle, and she's.
Let me ask you. You use Twitter, right? I think people use
Somewhat.
Twitter differently. I occasionally post, but I also just mostly follow. I use it as sort of a news feed. I like to look at this kind of stuff. I like to sort of rubberneck Twitter beefs, but not really participate in them.
That's the thing in Twitter.
I don't think people are going to leave if Donald Trump coming back is the big idea. Would you leave Twitter if Donald Trump comes back? I don't think there's many people who are like, I won't participate in this forum if Donald Trump comes back. There's a parade of other horribles that I might leave.
He hasn't even come back yet. I think a lot of people have already left.
Yeah,
there's
just rage quit.
Yeah, or just over it.
Gross.
And I think people in general, independent of Elon, were getting kind of tired of Twitter.
I think that's right. And
because it's exhausting. It's the most negative place.
That's right. And he's not into content moderation. He's more into free speech. But if you don't moderate, it could become just not even a hellscape of bad ideas, but like a lot of scammy stuff that looks like spam that you don't know what you're reading. And the user experience is terrible if you're getting nothing but Dogecoin scams.
And that's
right?
what it is. Like
if
you click on like almost any, big comment on Twitter, it'll show a couple of replies, and it's like, show more replies. If you ever click on that, it's always, I made this much last month. It's always just spam and fake and
by
crap.
the third comment, yes.
And that's the thing. It's not even a matter of rage quitting. It's boredom quitting. Like, I'm tired of seeing this. I don't want it anymore.
He's got to fix that. Pay for the
He's
check mark. He says he's going to fix it. All right, let's move on. This is fascinating to me. So Kyrie Irving was in a bit of hot water. He is a very sort of talented superstar on the Brooklyn Nets, which is the basketball team in Brooklyn. That's a key point of this story. He posted on his Twitter a link to a movie that's on Amazon Prime that is very controversial. I think it was called From Hebrews to Negroes, Wake Up Black America. This is a movie that I haven't seen personally, but is based on a book that has lots and lots of
anti-Semitic
tropes, and sort of it's trying to take a historical perspective on anti-Semitism that is also quite dangerous. We'll just put it that way.
Sure.
So a lot of these views have been debunked, but it is not a rageful sort of approach. It's sort of a historical approach that was appealing to Kyrie.
Well,
he watched it
and he retweeted it.
Yeah,
and
not much commentary by the way.
And got called out for that. People asked, like, why are you promoting this? And he got very defensive. He was like, I was.
He said, what is promoting?
I'm not promoting it. I just posted it, which that is promoting it.
It is. And also, I hate when people say, well, what do you mean? Well, on your platform to millions of viewers, you put out there a movie that is highly controversial with no context. If you had told me, Kyrie, I liked this aspect of the movie, but I know it's problematic, I would have had a different view of Kyrie Irving. Mm-hmm. If you just sort of put it out there and say, like, hey, one to watch this weekend, I don't know what you liked about it. And my assumption is that you like the bad parts.
And then the idea is that you're driving people to see this.
Yes.
So he got a lot of flack for that. Some fans sat courtside with Fight Anti-Semitism T-shirts.
Some Orthodox Jewish
they
fans.
had yarmulkes
big community.
Because Brooklyn is one of the biggest Orthodox populations on Earth, certainly in America.
On Earth. So I looked this up. The Jewish population in New York is 1.1 million, mostly in Manhattan and Brooklyn. The Jewish population of Jerusalem is 500,000. Just to give you a sense of the scale of this, it is a huge Jewish population.
So he got all this backlash. He kind of refused to back down from it, got very defensive about it in a press conference. Mm-hmm. Now has come out with the non-apology apology and is donating $500,000 to anti-defamation groups.
Yes. What do you think of? So in the pre-Kanye world, this was the playbook, right?
Yes.
You say something hateful, you backtrack, you donate to the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League, or some sort of support group. You say, I'm learning. Nick Cannon did the same thing.
Yeah.
He met with rabbis when he said, I was ignorant, I didn't understand all the history, and now I'm falling on the sword and want to learn more. It never seems super sincere, but I think the gesture is absolutely necessary to play on the Nets, first of all, fan base.
That's a part of it is why I'm a little suspicious of all this. So he's giving $500,000, a donation that is matched by the Brooklyn Nets themselves, and he and the team together have decided this, which means
it's a learning experience. They went in holding hands.
The team was like, what are you doing? This is horrible press. We have to fix this. And
now you're saying like it has the whiff of insincerity, which I agree with you. I still think sort of it's an opportunity for learning. Look, it's better to go this route where you get an insincere apology and $500,000 donated, and Kyrie at least has to sort of fall on his sword, than the Kanye route where he just sort of doubles down and goes on news programs.
Quadruple down.
It's the difference between working for a company and being someone like Kanye, who is a brand and a company. Now, Kanye, you're getting to see the full flowering of he lost his deals, but he's still worth $400 million, let's say. So he's just doing what he wants.
Do you kind of prefer, if you really believe these things, then believe it.
Yeah.
Don't believe it and then act like you don't.
Right.
And just think you can buy your way out of it.
And he was at risk of losing his job. The Nets would be in a position where they kind of had to trade him at least. And what other team is going to want the baggage of Kyrie Irving? So really, just for this tweet, things were starting to crumble in the way that they started to crumble for Kanye, but Kanye just like barreled ahead and said, okay, Adidas deal gone, Balenciaga partnership, it doesn't matter, I'm fine, I've got enough money in the bank. I'm not sure Kyrie wanted to lose everything in an instant and said, okay, here's 500 grand. I still want to be a millionaire
can't just put out a new
player.
album to get people back into him. But speaking of Kanye,
now let's go to the
not even
man,
the anti-Semitism.
the
Let's go to the other big one of the big controversies Kanye's had: the White Lives Matter shirt that he wore. That a lot of people were very unhappy about that,
and he's trying to sell.
And he was going to sell it.
Yep.
And it turns out now he cannot sell it because the
Checkmate.
copyright. I love this. The copyright to merchandise the White Lives Matter shirt turns out is already owned by two black men.
Yes.
It is two radio hosts, Ramses Ja and Quentin Ward. They have a racial justice radio show called Civic Cypher. So when the Kanye thing happened last month, an anonymous listener of their show
immediately went to the USPTO.
Yeah, did a little due diligence
trademark
there and found out that for all the promoting of this Kanye had been doing, he hadn't copywritten it. So,
which is incredible. Just
insane.
Pause on that. This is what's breathtaking about Kanye. We think he's this impulsive guy, but maybe a genius businessman. He hadn't even trademarked the thing that he wanted to monetize. He hadn't even done it. He hadn't even done the tiny bit of legal legwork to actually make this a reality and complete his trolling because he's so impulsive. He probably just put it on that day and was like, let's see, let's go.
And thought he figured out after the fact.
But
this anonymous person got the jump on him, and they copyrighted it, and then they donated that to these two hosts, and they are not going to monetize it. They're saying they want the copyright basically to prevent other people from being able to sell it, specifically Kanye or anybody else. Because, again, they have a racial justice show, so their thing is not promoting White Lives Matter and the concept of that.
It's fascinating. So in intellectual property law, just so everyone knows, this is a very popular move. In patent law, you get a patent and then you squat on it. If you have a component of something that someone's going to need for their product, a process that you've patented, you have something very valuable that they need, and you can sometimes just squat on it. Sometimes you squat on it to sell it for a high price. Sometimes you squat on it to actually block them from doing it and keeping your crappier process alive. So they're doing something called like squatting. It's perfectly legitimate. It's allowed. It's part of intellectual property. I've never seen it with trademarks, and it's actually pretty genius with the trademark to say, like, this is such an ugly idea. I want to own it so I can never release it to the world.
So nobody can use it. Because they said
it's relatively cheap. It's a couple $100.
The host said, they said, for whatever you think of Kanye, he has he has a bit of a zealot following, and every time he releases something, it sells out. So they knew if he started selling this shirt,
you were going to see it.
You were going to see a lot of it.
Yeah.
And it's going to be certain people who are going to be very proudly wearing that shirt.
That's right. Now, people are
some
going to
be Kanye fans. Some will be other people.
That's right. Now, I celebrate this move. I think it's great to sort of win the legal game, own the trademark, and sit on it and never let it release. This is going to be very upsetting to a lot of people who are like, well, I want to wear and express views that I want to express, and this guy bought something, and now I can't have my freedom of speech. This has nothing to do with freedom of speech.
It's got nothing to do with freedom of speech.
This is a trademark for the term. You can go out on the street corner and yell White Lives Matter all you want. You can't put it on a shirt and sell it.
You can make a shirt yourself and wear it because they're probably not going to find it. But nobody can sell it.
And you haven't trademarked it. So that's for the commerce. Like, he didn't want this shirt sold, you know?
Yeah.
And you can go home and make yourself a White Lives Matter shirt if you're that kind of jerk. Like, go for it and stand on the street corner. But this is a checkmate too. Like, I don't want Kanye making money and lining his pockets selling this kind of garbage sentiment to the world. And I think it's cool. I really do.
I do too.
All right, let's move to our last story of the day, which is Johnny Depp, who we haven't talked about in a while, but for a hot couple months, man, he was the Kanye West of this podcast. You would just talk about Johnny and Amber every day because there was more news about the trial and the fallout. Well, now he's in this project of reintegrating back into
the mainstream,
mainstream.
into Hollywood and being an A-list celebrity again.
And he's got a big move. So remember, he did the Moon Man where he came out and it was just his face. It wasn't him.
At the VMAs.
There was a video of him in the Moon Man's face, and it was sort of a soft reintroduction of Johnny Depp. He made some sort of
and he got one
quips.
of his who was the fragrance line that he was endorsing? Was it
Dior.
Dior. So
yes.
He had that. He lost
around.
it. He got it back again.
These are soft launches, though, right?
Yeah.
That's sort of Johnny Depp, sort of, a trial balloon, and
it's
I don't think it went well.
Until he gets a big movie again.
That's right. There were some cheers, by the way, at the movie awards, and some smattering of boos.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be like that for Johnny Depp. Not everyone agrees with this.
This is an odd cosign for him to get. So he is going to be featured at Rihanna's Savage Fenty show.
Yes.
He's not walking the runway. They're doing a video presentation with him that he'll be part of. And we hear that Johnny was very excited to be part of it. Rihanna and her team were very excited to have him.
Let me ask you a question. This is a no-brainer for Johnny Depp. Obviously, it's like, I get to be out there. I'm Johnny Depp. I get to see if the world is ready for me. Why on earth would Rihanna want to attach herself to someone who is so radioactive? She doesn't need this.
But think
she's super popular.
No, but think of the specific thing. What is the problem people have with Johnny Depp, the people who have an issue with him? They think he's a domestic abuser.
Yeah.
Who did Rihanna forgive? You didn't even think about this.
I didn't think about it. So
the whole Chris Brown thing.
But
who was the first person to forgive Chris Brown and go back and do a song with him?
Rihanna.
Yeah.
Wow.
She forgave him very quickly.
That did not dawn on me.
Because everybody, all the Chris Brown fans were saying, if she's not mad at him, if she forgave him, then why can't everybody else? And now it seems she's forgiven Johnny Depp.
Is this Rihanna's project in life to sort of, she strikes me as
rehab
such
abusers?
Yeah, she strikes me as such a powerful symbol of sort of feminine, power. I don't, for lack of a better word. Why would she take this on as the project of rehabilitating abusers?
Because that is really feminine power. She can do whatever she wants.
Yeah.
She's not beholden to any idea or anything. Whatever she wants to do, she does. And that is power, for good or bad.
Yeah. I personally, you're right. There's an analogy there with what happened with Chris Brown. That was a very personal thing for Rihanna.
Obviously.
And she was in the middle of that. It was directly in between those two, and she can have whatever sort of emotional response to it and deal with it however she likes. So, she was the victim of that abuse, and if she chooses to forgive, good on her. That's for her to sort of manage. I think getting into the Johnny Depp world is strange. That is an explanation, and I buy it. I don't think it's a good move personally. I think Rihanna could come out, doesn't need to tie herself in any way to Johnny Depp. This is a lot of upside for him, and maybe it does give her a little celebrity boost, but people like Rihanna and Beyonce don't need a celebrity boost. They are so big. We have anticipated her reintroduction so much that she doesn't need Johnny Depp.
She doesn't, and I don't think this really changes that. It's just
Well,
trying to put all the controversy about it aside. His vibe, his whole weird kind of Johnny Depp vibe, kind of fits into her vibe.
Yeah, they both have sort of a weirdo vibe, I guess.
Just saying that none of the things with Amber Heard had ever happened. Johnny Depp was just Johnny Depp that we thought of 15, 20 years ago. It would make complete sense for him to be part of this.
Yes. I guess
and maybe
so.
she just looks at it as that.
I guess I thought Johnny Depp, in the wake of this, would go more the way of, and I know it's very different, murder, double homicide, and defamation are very different. I thought the way OJ was, he won his criminal trial, but he was still ostracized from celebrity culture. No one would bring OJ out to an event. Now, yes, the crime is considerably worse. I don't. But
even equal, saying
who's
setting aside the difference of the crime, part of it is also, OJ was beloved as a football star,
yes,
and a personality, but he was not going to play football again. He wasn't going to, no matter what had happened.
But he was a movie guy at that point.
He had some small roles in like Naked Gun. He wasn't the star of those movies. Nobody was like, man, I really want a new OJ Simpson movie. That wouldn't have happened even if the murders hadn't happened.
Sure.
So he was always going to be kind of coasting on the football career.
Yes.
Johnny Depp, people still love him, and he could still have an acting career. People want to see him again.
Yeah, you're right. People are clamoring for it, and I personally quibble with her spending any of her goodwill with people like Johnny Depp. Because to me, at the margins, I like Rihanna, but like if she's tying herself to Johnny Depp, it turns me off a little bit. There's got to be other people like me who are like, why are you doing this, Rihanna?
But does it really?
Who won't care. But
does it really affect one way or the other how you feel? Because you weren't going to be buying Fenty products in the first place.
You don't know how I smell.
Yes, I do. I'm right here.
And you don't know what's on underneath all this sweater action. It could be some
I don't want to know what's
lingerie.
under the sweater action there.
That'll do it for us. We'll see you next time.
Bye.